we regularly dealt with that purveyor of horseless carriages to the nobility and gentry, one Bunty Scott-Moncrieff of Leek, Staffordshire. A splendid character who, with his wife Averil, had raced, bought and sold performance cars in pre-war days. Continuing after the war, he established himself at Averil's inherited Basford Hall, by then a boys' school. They lived in Rock Cottage within the grounds, attended upon by a superior gentleman's gentleman. Averil, the most tolerant of women, allowed her husband free rein for his idiosyncrasies, which are well illustrated in a brief extract from a 35-minute interview taped by Charles Marshall.
This was followed after the Hitler War by a very limited number of Phantom 3s built out of existing stocks of parts for VIPs. They cost absolutely the earth plus 10%. The cost was never revealed, but a friend of mine, the King of Iraq, who was murdered, poor little chap, you remember, told me that he got a quotation in excess of £10,000 for chassis only.
Bunty was not just name-dropping, for he had dedicated his 1955 Batsford book, Veteran and Edwardian Motor Cars, just so. And in 1959, he signed my copy. This was on the occasion when the VSCC visited Beaulieu, and we welcomed at the Jack-o'-lantern such luminaries as William Body in a Delaunay Belleville to the rear here, Cecil Cotton in Cotin d'Aigu, with Bunty conducting 179XJ, a most suitably flamboyant boat tail by Barker. In those early days, Bunty advertised in a simple way, rather like his conversions of saloons into tourers. Later, Humphrey, their son, growing into the business, took larger premises in nearby Leek. The business grew, as did the adverts. Visiting on one occasion, we were treated to the usual hospitality, and in the conversation our host enthused about a small firm in Blackpool that had produced a clever little fiberglass coupe. They had set up a company to manufacture this ingenious motor car. Bunty was a director, but they had no agent in the south of England. Would we like an introduction? Very quickly, arrangements were made and we visited the factory. An extended road test of a supercharged 100E engine car was undertaken. This to Glasgow, to see a Rolls-Royce 20 horsepower Doctor's Coupe hiding in Pollock House. Accustomed as we were to loftier forms of transport, this was at first a trial, as the weather offered only constant rain. So spray from heavy vehicles was a novel and worrying experience. The blower needed regular tightening to the side valve head, but overall we were impressed. So the Jack-o'-lantern became agents for the early Grand Tourer coupes from TVR, a startling contrast to our regular cars. However, the Rolls-Royces played their part in the TVR saga. In 1961, car transportation was in its infancy. Great coated figures clutching trade plates, thumbs up raised, were still to be seen at roundabouts and road junctions. Our cars were incomplete to avoid purchase tax, so we improvised, collecting the cars from Blackpool with whichever RR was practical at the time. The engine, gearbox unit, wheels and other parts were accommodated in the Rolls rear compartments. Customers were often young men from Bournemouth where flash was the fashion, or young army officers off Salisbury Plain. One 1600 MGA example was ordered by an older Bournemouth chap who specified a dark colour and driving spot lamps to be fitted. No, he didn't want the Climax engine, as reliability was paramount. When I delivered the car, I was impressed by his complete set of UK Ordnance Survey 1-inch maps. He explained he was a linesman for the electricity board. It wasn't until he was finally apprehended and we went to collect the frontally damaged car from Leafy, Surrey, that we learned his hours had been entirely nocturnal and featured exclusively rural sub-post offices. His only knowledge of lines was shooting them.